Just moments ago, the world said goodbye to several unforgettable legends whose talent, music, and influence changed millions of lives forever. These iconic stars brought joy, inspiration, and timeless memories to generations of fans around the world. Today, hearts are heavy as we remember the remarkable lives and lasting legacies they leave behind. James Robison, 81, American televangelist, author, and Christian broadcaster. James Robison reportedly passed away following age-related health complications. Robison became one of the most influential evangelical leaders in the United States through decades of preaching, television ministry, and humanitarian outreach. Rising to national prominence during the 1970s and 1980s, he was widely recognized for his passionate sermons, strong conservative Christian values, and large-scale evangelistic events attended by thousands across America. He later founded the television program Life Today, which reached millions of viewers worldwide and became one of the most successful Christian broadcasting platforms in modern religious media. Beyond preaching, Robison gained respect for his humanitarian efforts focused on poverty relief, global missions, and feeding programs for struggling families and children in developing countries. Throughout his long ministry career, he authored several best-selling books discussing faith, culture, family, and spiritual leadership. Supporters admired his outspoken personality and dedication to Christian outreach, while critics often debated his political and religious influence within American society. Following reports of his passing, tributes from pastors, religious leaders, television personalities, and longtime followers continued appearing online. His death marks the loss of one of the most recognizable and influential evangelical broadcasters in modern American religious history. Claudine Longet, 83. French-American singer and actress Claudine Longet reportedly passed away on May 14, 2026, following age-related health complications. Longet first gained popularity during the 1960s through her soft vocal style, romantic pop recordings, and elegant television appearances that helped establish her as one of the glamorous celebrity figures of her era. She released several successful albums and frequently appeared on major American television variety programs, alongside some of the entertainment industry's biggest stars. In addition to her music career, Longet appeared in films and television productions that further expanded her fame as both a singer and actress. She attracted widespread public attention through her marriage to legendary entertainer Andy Williams, becoming one of the most recognizable celebrity couples of the 1960s and early 1970s. During the mid-1970s, Longet became one of the most talked-about public figures in America, following the highly publicized death of Olympic skier Vladimir "Spider" Sabic and the legal controversy surrounding the incident. Despite years of controversy surrounding her personal life, Longet remained a memorable figure in vintage pop culture and classic Hollywood history. Fans continue remembering her elegant image, music career, and lasting connection to mid-century American entertainment culture. Her passing marks the loss of another notable personality from the golden era of television and celebrity entertainment. Denis Locorriere, 75. American singer, songwriter, and musician Denis Locorriere reportedly passed away following ongoing health complications. Locorriere became internationally recognized as the lead vocalist of the legendary rock band Dr. Hook and The Medicine Show, one of the most successful pop rock groups of the 1970s and early 1980s. Known for his distinctive voice and charismatic stage presence, he helped deliver timeless hits including Sharing the Night Together, When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman, Sexy Eyes, and Only 16. Throughout his long music career, Locorriere earned admiration for blending rock, pop, country, and soft ballad styles into commercially successful recordings that appealed to audiences around the world. Beyond his success with Dr. Hook, he later continued performing as a solo artist and touring internationally, maintaining a loyal fan base decades after the band's peak popularity. Fellow musicians frequently praised his vocal ability, humor, and energetic live performances that became central to the group's identity. Following reports of his passing, tributes from fans and artists across the music industry continued appearing online. His death marks the loss of one of the most recognizable voices from the golden era of classic pop rock and soft rock music history. Tom Petty, 66, legendary American singer-songwriter Tom Petty, passed away on October 2, 2017, after suffering cardiac arrest caused by an accidental drug overdose. Petty became one of the most respected and influential figures in American rock music through his work as the leader of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Known for his distinctive voice, heartfelt songwriting, and timeless rock sound, he created iconic songs including Free Fallin', I Won't Back Down, Learning to Fly, American Girl, and Refugee. Throughout a career spanning more than 4 decades, Petty sold millions of records worldwide and earned recognition as one of rock music's greatest songwriters and performers. In addition to his success with the Heartbreakers, he was also a member of the supergroup Traveling Wilburys, alongside Bob Dylan, George Harrison, Roy Orbison, and Jeff Lynne. Fans admired Petty for his authentic personality, rebellious spirit, and dedication to classic American rock music. Following his death, tributes poured in from musicians, actors, political leaders, and millions of fans worldwide. His legacy continues influencing generations of rock artists, while his timeless music remains celebrated across the world decades after its release. Glen Campbell, 81. Legendary American singer, songwriter, guitarist, and television personality Glen Campbell passed away on August 8, 2017, after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. Campbell was widely recognized as one of the most influential country pop crossover artists in music history, earning global fame through his smooth vocals, exceptional guitar skills, and timeless recordings that shaped American popular music for decades. Rising to prominence during the 1960s and 1970s, Campbell became known for iconic songs including Rhinestone Cowboy, Wichita Lineman, Gentle on My Mind, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, Galveston, and Southern Nights. His emotional storytelling and polished musical style helped bridge the gap between country, pop, and mainstream adult contemporary music, making him one of the most commercially successful artists of his era. Before becoming a solo superstar, Campbell worked as a highly respected session musician in Los Angeles and was part of the famous group of studio musicians known as the Wrecking Crew. During that period, he contributed guitar performances to recordings by legendary artists including Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, the Beach Boys, and Nat King Cole. Many musicians considered Campbell one of the finest guitarists of his generation because of his technical skill, versatility, and ability to adapt across multiple genres. His talent earned admiration not only from country artists, but also from rock and pop musicians throughout the entertainment industry. Campbell's popularity expanded even further through television success. He hosted the Glen Campbell Good Time Hour, a highly successful variety show that aired during the late 1960s and early 1970s, and featured appearances by many major celebrities and musicians of the era. His warm personality, humor, and approachable image helped make him a beloved public figure across America. Throughout his career, Campbell won multiple Grammy Awards, Academy of Country Music honors, and numerous industry recognitions while selling millions of records worldwide. In 2011, Campbell publicly revealed his Alzheimer's diagnosis, bringing significant awareness to the disease through interviews, documentaries, and a farewell concert tour that deeply moved fans around the world. Despite his declining health, he continued performing and recording music, inspiring audiences with his courage and determination. Following his death, tributes poured in from fellow musicians, actors, political leaders, and longtime fans who praised both his extraordinary musical legacy and personal strength. Glen Campbell remains remembered as one of the most iconic and influential entertainers in American music history, whose timeless songs continue inspiring generations of listeners across the world. Ronnie Sessions, 78. American country singer-songwriter Ronnie Sessions reportedly passed away following ongoing health complications. Sessions became widely recognized during the 1970s and 1980s as one of the respected voices in traditional country music. Known for his smooth vocals, emotional storytelling, and heartfelt ballads, he built a loyal fan base through a series of successful country hits that gained popularity on radio stations across the United States. Among his best-known songs were Wiggle Wiggle, Me and Millie, and Never Been to Spain, which helped establish his reputation within the country music industry during his peak years. Born in Texas, Sessions developed a passion for music at an early age and eventually moved to Nashville to pursue a professional recording career. His traditional country sound blended elements of honky-tonk, classic storytelling, and Southern country charm that appealed strongly to audiences during country music's golden era. Throughout his career, Sessions performed alongside many respected country artists and remained admired for his authentic style and dedication to classic country traditions. Although he never reached the massive mainstream fame of some contemporaries, he earned deep respect among country music fans and fellow musicians for his consistency, professionalism, and emotional performances.
Dave Mason, the soulful rebel of rock, a life remembered. Few musicians embodied the restless spirit of classic rock quite like Dave Mason. Born David Thomas Mason on May 10, 1946, in Worcester, England, Mason became one of the most respected singer-songwriters and guitarists of his generation. Best known as a founding member of the legendary rock band Traffic, Mason helped shape the sound of late 1960s British rock with his poetic songwriting, melodic guitar work, and unmistakable voice. Songs such as Feelin' Alright, Hole in My Shoe, and We Just Disagree became timeless classics, continuing to resonate with audiences decades after their release. To many fans, Dave Mason was more than a musician. He was a wanderer, a creative soul, and a bridge between eras of rock history. He collaborated with some of the most iconic artists ever to grace the music industry, including Jimi Hendrix, George Harrison, Eric Clapton, Paul McCartney, Fleetwood Mac, and the Rolling Stones. His fingerprints could be found on some of rock's most memorable recordings, and yet Mason always seemed more interested in the music itself than in fame. Over a career spanning more than 6 decades, Mason carved out a reputation as a fearless artist who followed his own instincts. He moved fluidly between psychedelic rock, blues, folk, pop, and acoustic balladry. His career was filled with triumphs, reinventions, departures, reunions, heartbreaks, and moments of breathtaking creativity. When news broke in April 2026 that Dave Mason had passed away peacefully at the age of 79, the music world fell silent for a moment. Fans across generations mourned not only the loss of a gifted musician, but also the passing of a genuine rock and roll craftsman, one of the last surviving links to a magical era of music. Dave Mason's story was not simply the story of a rock star. It was the story of an artist who never stopped searching for meaning through music. His journey was filled with passion, conflict, experimentation, and perseverance. Above all else, it was filled with songs that became part of the soundtrack of millions of lives. This is the story of Dave Mason, the rebel guitarist, the thoughtful songwriter, the restless traveler, and the timeless voice behind some of rock music's most unforgettable moments. Dave Mason entered the world in post-war England, a country still rebuilding after the devastation of World War II. Born in Worcester, Worcestershire, he grew up during a period of enormous cultural change. Britain in the 1950s was transforming rapidly, and music became one of the great escape routes for young people searching for identity and excitement. From a very early age, Mason was fascinated by sound. Music seemed to surround him constantly, and he absorbed influences from every direction. American blues and jazz records arriving in Britain through radio broadcasts had an especially deep impact on him. Artists such as Muddy Waters, Elmore James, Buddy Guy, and Chuck Berry helped ignite his imagination. Unlike many children his age, Mason was deeply introspective. He often preferred sitting quietly with music rather than engaging in ordinary childhood activities. Friends later described him as curious, creative, and unusually mature for his age. His family supported his artistic interests, although they could hardly have predicted the path he would eventually take. By his teenage years, Mason was already obsessed with the guitar. He practiced endlessly, teaching himself chords and experimenting with melodies. The British music explosion of the early 1960s arrived at the perfect time for him. The Beatles had changed everything. Suddenly, young musicians across Britain believed they could conquer the world through music. Mason felt the same hunger. At just 15 years old, he began playing in local bands around Worcestershire and Birmingham. One of his earliest groups was the Hellions, where he played alongside future Traffic drummer Jim Capaldi. The local club scene became Mason's classroom. He learned not only how to perform, but also how to survive in the unpredictable world of live music. These early years shaped Mason's musical identity. Unlike some musicians who focused solely on technical skill, Mason cared deeply about atmosphere and emotion. He wanted songs to feel alive. He experimented with acoustic guitars, electric textures, Eastern instruments, and unconventional arrangements long before such experimentation became mainstream. As Britain's rock scene exploded, Mason found himself surrounded by rising talent. He eventually crossed paths with Steve Winwood, a teenage musical prodigy already gaining attention through the Spencer Davis Group. The chemistry between Mason and Winwood would eventually change both of their lives, although Mason never pursued formal higher education in the traditional sense. Music became his true education. Every club performance, every jam session, and every recording experiment helped shape the artist he was becoming. There was already something different about Dave Mason even then. While many musicians chased fame aggressively, Mason seemed more interested in exploration. He loved collaboration. He loved discovering new sounds. He loved the freedom music gave him. That spirit of musical adventure would define his entire life. By the mid-1960s, Dave Mason had become deeply immersed in Britain's vibrant rock scene. Alongside Steve Winwood, Jim Capaldi, and Chris Wood, he co-founded Traffic in 1967. The group quickly stood apart from other bands of the era. Traffic blended psychedelic rock with folk, jazz, blues, and experimental sounds. Their music felt organic, improvisational, and emotionally rich. While Steve Winwood often became the public face of the band, Dave Mason's songwriting and musical ideas were equally essential to Traffic's identity. The band's debut album, Mr. Fantasy, introduced listeners to a new kind of British rock music. Mason contributed several important songs, including Hole in My Shoe, which became a major hit in the United Kingdom. Hole in My Shoe was whimsical, surreal, and psychedelic, a perfect reflection of the era's experimental spirit. Mason's songwriting stood out because it balanced imagination with strong melody. However, even in Traffic's early success, tensions began to emerge. Mason and Winwood possessed very different personalities and musical philosophies. Winwood leaned toward extended improvisation and jazz influences, while Mason often preferred concise songwriting and melodic structure. These creative differences caused friction almost immediately. Mason left Traffic several times during the band's early years, only to return again. His relationship with the group became one of rock music's most famous examples of creative instability. Yet despite the conflicts, Mason continued contributing songs that would become legendary. One of his most enduring compositions was Feelin', All Right? Released by Traffic in 1968, the song eventually became a rock standard. Joe Cocker's famous cover transformed it into an international anthem, but Mason's original songwriting remained at the core of its emotional power. The song's soulful honesty and unforgettable groove captured the emotional uncertainty of an entire generation. Ironically, Feelin' All Right became far bigger than Traffic itself. Over the decades, it was covered by dozens of artists, including the Jackson 5, Gladys Knight and the Pips, and many others. Dave Mason had written one of the defining songs of classic rock. Even after leaving Traffic, Mason quickly established himself as one of the music industry's most respected collaborators. One of the most famous moments of his career came through his friendship with Jimi Hendrix. Mason played acoustic guitar on Hendrix's iconic version of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower. His 12-string guitar added texture and atmosphere to what became one of the greatest rock recordings ever made. Mason later described the session as magical. The collaboration symbolized his role within rock history. Not always the loudest figure in the room, but often one of the most essential. Throughout the late 1960s and 1970s, Mason worked with an astonishing list of artists. Solo career and breakthrough success. After his complicated relationship with Traffic, Mason focused increasingly on solo work. In 1970, he released Alone Together, an album now considered one of the great singer-songwriter records of the era. The album showcased Mason's depth as both a musician and lyricist. Songs like Only, You Know and I Know revealed emotional vulnerability and melodic sophistication. Critics praised the album's warmth, honesty, and musical craftsmanship. Over time, Alone Together achieved cult classic status. Unlike some rock stars who relied on flashy personas, Mason built his reputation through musicianship. He continued, releasing albums throughout the 1970s, gradually building a loyal audience. Then came the breakthrough that introduced him to mainstream American radio. In 1977, Mason released We Just Disagree. The song became a massive hit, soft, reflective, and emotionally mature. We Just Disagree connected deeply with listeners. It stood apart from the louder rock music dominating the decade. Satire lyrics explored the quiet pain of emotional separation without bitterness or anger. The song's emotional intelligence helped make it timeless. Decades later, it remained one of the most beloved soft rock songs ever recorded. For many fans, We Just Disagree became the soundtrack to heartbreak, memory, and acceptance. Mason's solo career also demonstrated remarkable longevity. He continued touring consistently for decades, performing over 100 shows annually, even into his later years. Unlike many artists from the classic rock era, Mason remained deeply connected to live performance. He genuinely loved playing music. Touring and reinvention throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Mason adapted to changing musical landscapes. While mainstream trends shifted toward new wave, grunge, and alternative rock, Mason maintained a devoted fan base. He never stopped creating. He toured with Fleetwood Mac briefly during the 1990s, stepping into an incredibly difficult role following the departure of Lindsey Buckingham. Although his time with the band was relatively short, it demonstrated the immense respect other musicians had for his abilities. Mason also explored business ventures, including involvement in guitar design and instrument innovation. Yet no matter where life took him, music remained his true home. He continued releasing albums, performing live, and mentoring younger musicians. By the 2000s, Mason had become something rare in the music industry. A universally respected elder statesman of rock. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004 as a founding member of Traffic. For NC fans, the recognition felt overdue. Mason's influence on classic rock had always been enormous, even if he sometimes remained underappreciated by mainstream audiences. The Hall of Fame induction finally placed him officially among rock royalty. For 150 major works and achievements, Dave Mason's career was filled with songs and performances that left lasting marks on music history. Unlike some artists remembered for only one hit, Mason built a catalog filled with emotionally resonant work across multiple decades. Feelin' All Right? Perhaps no song defines Dave Mason's songwriting legacy more than Feelin' All Right? Originally recorded with Traffic, the song became one of the most covered rock compositions ever written. Joe Cocker's version introduced it to a global audience, but Mason's original spirit remained embedded within the track. The song's mixture of soul, rock, and emotional uncertainty captured universal feelings. Its lyrics reflected confusion, resilience, and emotional honesty. Even decades later, Feelin' All Right continued appearing in films, commercials, concerts, and cultural moments. It became part of rock music's permanent vocabulary. Hole in My Shoe. This psychedelic masterpiece showcased Mason's imaginative songwriting. Released during the height of the psychedelic era, the song combined whimsical storytelling with experimental production. Its dreamlike atmosphere perfectly matched the cultural experimentation of the late 1960s. The song became a major hit in Britain and remains one of Traffic's most recognizable recordings. Only You Know and I Know originally appearing on Alone Together. Clyderit, this emotionally charged song demonstrated Mason's gift for blending rock energy with introspective songwriting. The track became especially popular after versions by Delaney and Bonnie and Eric Clapton. Its themes of love, friendship, and emotional intimacy resonated deeply with listeners. We Just Disagree. Arguably Mason's greatest solo hit, We Just Disagree became a defining soft rock classic of the 1970s. The song's calm emotional maturity separated it from typical breakup songs rather than rage or heartbreak. Mason sang about acceptance. That emotional honesty gave the song extraordinary staying power. Even younger generations discovered the song decades later through streaming platforms and film soundtracks. Contributions to legendary recordings. Mason's Patut achievements extended beyond his own catalog. His work on Jimi Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower remains one of rock history's most celebrated collaborations. He also contributed to George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. Chaolaki Salipuri, one of the most acclaimed solo Beatles projects ever recorded. His collaborations with Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, and countless others further solidified his reputation. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2004, Traffic was inducted into the EVE Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The honor recognized the band's influence on rock music and acknowledged Mason's essential role in shaping their sound. For many fans, the induction served as long overdue recognition of Mason's brilliance. Lifelong touring legacy. Another major achievement was Mason's dedication to live performance. Unlike many aging rock stars who retired quietly, Mason remained active almost until the end of his life. He performed tirelessly, connecting directly with fans across generations. Audiences admired not only his musicianship, but also his authenticity. Every performance felt genuine. Memoir and final years. In 2024, Mason released his memoir, Only You Know and I Know, offering reflections on his extraordinary journey through rock history. The book revealed a thoughtful, reflective side of Mason. Rather than glorifying excess or celebrity, he focused on creativity, friendship, music, and survival. Fans embraced the memoir as both a personal confession and a historical document. Even in his late 70s, Mason continued creating. His final musical projects demonstrated that his artistic curiosity never disappeared. Personal life. Behind the music, Dave Mason was known as a deeply thoughtful and sometimes mysterious individual. He possessed the soul of an artist in every sense. Friends often described him as introspective, independent, and emotionally sensitive. Although he spent much of his life around fame and celebrity culture, Mason rarely behaved like a stereotypical rock star. He valued privacy. He cared more about music than about headlines. Relationships and family. Mason experienced both love and heartbreak throughout his life. He married multiple times and eventually found lasting companionship with Winifred Wilson, whom he married in 2018. Friends close to the couple often spoke warmly about their bond. Winifred brought stability and peace into Mason's later years. One of the greatest tragedies in Mason's personal life was the loss of his son, True Mason, who died in 2006. The loss devastated him. Although Mason rarely spoke publicly in great detail about his grief, those close to him knew the pain never fully disappeared. Music became one of the ways he processed sorrow. He also remained close to his daughter Danielle and other family members. Despite years of touring and traveling, Mason valued family deeply. Personality and interests. Dave Mason possessed a restless curiosity. He loved nature, travel, spirituality, and artistic experimentation. Friends described him as someone constantly exploring new ideas. He was fascinated by instruments from around the world and often incorporated unusual sounds into his recordings. Unlike some musicians driven by ego, Mason remained approachable. Fans frequently described meeting him as a warm and surprisingly humble experience. He enjoyed meaningful conversations more than celebrity attention. Animals also played an important role in his life. His beloved Maltese dog, Star, became a comforting companion during his later years. The image of Mason passing peacefully at home with Star nearby became especially emotional for fans after his death. Love of music above all. Else perhaps the defining aspect of Mason's personal life was his pure love for music. Even after decades of success, he continued practicing, writing, experimenting, and performing. He viewed music almost spiritually. To Mason, songs were not simply entertainment. They were emotional conversations. That philosophy explains why his work felt so sincere. Listeners trusted Dave Mason because they sensed honesty in his music. He never sounded manufactured, he sounded human. Challenges and struggles. Dave Mason's life was filled with artistic triumphs, but it was also marked by conflict, instability, and personal hardship. Creative tensions in traffic. One of Mason's earliest struggles involved his relationship with traffic. Although the band created brilliant music together, internal disagreements constantly threatened stability. Mason's songwriting instincts sometimes clashed with Steve Winwood's musical direction. The tensions led to repeated departures and returns. For Mason, this instability became emotionally exhausting. Yet those same tensions may have contributed to the band's creative magic. Traffic thrived on unpredictability. Mason later reflected that artistic conflict often emerged when strong creative personalities collided. Still, the experience left emotional scars. Feeling underappreciated throughout his career, Mason sometimes struggled with feeling overshadowed. Despite writing major hits and contributing significantly to rock history, he was not always given the same mainstream recognition as some of his collaborators. Many music historians later argued that Mason deserved far greater recognition as both a songwriter and guitarist. However, Mason himself rarely seemed obsessed with fame. What frustrated him more was artistic misunderstanding. He wanted audiences to hear the emotional truth inside the music. Industry pressures. Like many musicians of his era, Mason faced difficult industry pressures. The music business could be ruthless. Contracts, touring demands, label expectations, and financial instability created enormous stress. Mason also navigated decades of changing musical trends, remaining artisty